Okay, thank you to everybody for logging in tonight. My name is Matt Rosu. I'm Dean of the Sigmund Weis School of Business at Susquehanna University, and welcome to the continuation of the Sigmund Weis School of Business virtual speaker series. With COVID-19 hitting, naturally, we can't have wonderful guests coming to campus like we normally would, but thankfully, we have had an amazing set of alumni and friends of the university who've been willing to talk via Zoom about what they've learned in various roles in many different industries. I will introduce Sarah, Derrick in just a moment. Before I do that, just want to say our next speaker in the speaker series, Brett Moyer, is talking Thursday night at 7 p.m. about tips for landing your dream job, really whether you're in school now or if you're thinking about pivoting throughout your career. So that should be also another fascinating talk. Hope to see many of you online on Thursday as well. And a special thanks tonight. We actually have some K-12 teachers here tonight, so welcome. K-12 teachers can earn, if you're in Pennsylvania, an hour of Act 48 professional development credit for tonight's talk. We have some prospective students. Welcome. In my completely unbiased view, of course, we are the best business school in the world. So only a little bit biased maybe, but I'm glad you're here tonight. We do have the speaker series all semester, so you'll be learning from Sarah tonight, but there are other opportunities throughout the semester if you want to meet more of our amazing alumni. Welcome to our students, our alumni who are turning in, and a special thanks to FBLA, the Future Business Leaders of America, for also promoting this talk to their members and their students. So without any further ado, I'll get to Sarah's introduction. So we're really pleased to have Sarah Derrick here with us tonight to talk about her work with luxury brands. Sarah is a 2018 graduate of Susquehanna University. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago, I have to say. She's a production coordinator at LDJ Productions, where she works with fashion, luxury beauty, media, and automotive clients. The full bio has been distributed to everybody, and you've had a chance to see that. The one thing I want to note, I knew Sarah when she was here, is just a wonderful person, but in terms of kind of the giving spirit of Susquehannans and Susquehanna alumni, last year, might have been July or August, there was an email that came in from Sarah saying, I think we have a paid internship opportunity for students during New York Fashion Week. Do you think you might be able to get a student or two? And we ended up giving Sarah a whole list of names, but ended up having 7 Susquehanna students getting a paid internship at New York Fashion Week. Absolutely amazing experience for the students, and it was thanks to Sarah. So even for students, if you're thinking how to possibly give back when you're young alumni, there's lots of ways that you can kind of continue being part of the Susquehanna family. For those who would like to ask questions, we do have the question and answer app. We are leaving time at the end for questions, so feel free to ask there. And without further ado, please welcome Sarah Derrick, and I know everybody's clapping behind their monitors right now.
Thank you, Dean Rosu. Hi, everyone. I hope you're all doing well and had a wonderful weekend. Happy Monday. It's good to see some new and familiar faces. I'm Sarah Derrick. I graduated Susquehanna 2 years ago with the class of 2018 with a degree in luxury brand marketing and management. Welcome to my virtual talk. Tonight, I'm going to share a little bit about myself, my experiences since graduating working with luxury brands. We'll play some games, maybe laugh, and hopefully make class seem a little bit shorter for the GBP students. So I'm going to share my screen now. Okay, let me know if you can't see it. Here is a little bit about me. I grew up in Roxbury, New Jersey in Morris County, and I went from Roxbury High School from 2011 to 2014. Here is my family, my mom, dad, sisters, Emily and Julia. I'm the oldest, and that's our dog, Roscoe. I went to Susquehanna, so did many of my family members. In fact, our SU family tree was published last month in the Currents magazine, starting all the way back with my great uncle Richard to my little sister Julia, who is a sophomore right now. I live in Morristown, New Jersey now with my best friend from college. and I'm working virtually for LDJ Productions. So I should let you know that when I started this presentation, I thought it would just be for first-year students. But how exciting is it that we also have alumni and the SU community on my talk? No pressure. So every now and then I will jump to a word of advice for those students. Everyone else, soak in what you can and go easy on me because my parents and extended family are watching. Hi, Grandma. Okay, so let me start from the beginning. Freshman year at Susquehanna, I was a business undeclared major. I didn't know what I liked, and I was graduating high school with interests in marketing, teaching, and psychology. So I was nervous to declare anything without being sure. I joined some organizations on campus, like Colleges Against Cancer and a sorority, and I started getting involved planning Relay for Life events and sorority events, and I loved it. I liked bringing people together. I love celebrating and thinking creatively. So word of advice, get involved in different things, even if you aren't sure. If anything, you'll find new interests and meet new people. So freshman year, everyone takes a course called Global Business Perspectives, where you analyze the company and apply your first learning in a few different subjects of business. At the time, the company that we were studying was Burberry, and I became very interested in luxury brands. SU came out with a luxury brand marketing and management major, so sophomore year, I declared it. So at this point, I was interested in event planning, luxury brands, marketing, and trying to find a way to combine all three, and also still worrying about the major I declared. I spent sophomore year getting involved in interning with the Women's Leadership Symposium. For those of you who don't know what that is, it was a program that was started when I was a freshman by Dean Marcia Kelleher. And as students, we traveled into big cities and met with female alumni who taught us networking skills, shared their experiences, and confidence with us. I know it's expanded at SU since then and is still an amazing experience for women in business, and now other majors as well. So definitely take advantage of it. I thought whatever I was going to end up doing, I wanted to be like those strong women who empower others. I felt a lot of pressure to get an internship the summer after my junior year of college. I had talked a lot with my friends and family about what my interests were. And my Aunt Anne-Marie said, I might have a connection for you. My aunt's friend's daughter, Danielle DeZeo, works in event planning in New York. I think she would be a great connection to have. A word of advice, talk to your circle about your interests. You never know where a connection could lead. I'm going to share my screen again. Okay. LDJ Productions is a full-service event production agency based in New York, specializing in live and experiential events for Fortune 500 companies and luxury clients. So I did some research. I sent Danielle an email introducing myself, expressing my interest, and I asked about their internship program. But unfortunately, she told me they didn't have any positions available, but would interview me anyway because sometimes they need extra hands. So I jumped on the phone with her the next morning, and I remember thinking someone else was in the room during my interview. I knew I was on speakerphone. I was a little bit nervous. And they asked me a lot of questions and thought a long time about my answers. Mostly they asked about school and my extracurriculars. But toward the end of the interview, they asked if I knew about their philanthropy. And I thought, thank goodness, because I looked it up and I had written the name down next to me. So I said, yes, the Paper Fig Foundation. I read about your foundation and I think the work that you do in Africa is so special. And then there was silence. They ended up offering me a position 2 days a week, which turned into 4 days a week before the summer was over. So a word of advice, do your research. You don't need to be a grade A super sleuth stalker like me, but do your basic research. One thing about being virtual is that I'm assuming a lot of your interviews will be. So use being virtual to your advantage. In full transparency, I have about 6 sticky notes taped to my computer so I don't forget to tell you anything. Gold. But you can get creative, start thinking about a virtual portfolio to stand out. In the luxury industry, it's all about getting your foot in the door. So I was happy starting with the 2 days a week. And all I can say is just take it and shine. So my first day as an intern at LDJ, our CEO, Lori DeJong, was accepting an award for her foundation, and Danielle asked if I wanted to come on my first day. So we arrived, Lori was getting her hair and makeup done. We were setting up a table for the Paper Fig Foundation, and there was champagne, beautiful flower arrangements, past hors d'oeuvres, amazing lighting, and it looked so beautiful. And Danielle talked to me about always looking around at events and paying attention to detail. The number one thing with any event that we produce is the guest experience. After all, that's how the success of an event is measured. I think that being a guest at my first event on my first day truly set the stage. So pay attention to detail and logistics. Sometimes the littlest things can make the biggest impression. There was never a dull moment when I was interning. I was new to the city, I was commuting, and on top of that, I interned with the CEO's daughter, who seemed like she knew everything and everyone all the time. She was so nice, and I thought, how was I going to keep up? As an intern, I helped with the day-to-day tasks around the office. I ran so many errands, grabbed coffee, made deliveries, made stunning charcuterie boards, and learned that snacks and breakfasts at big meetings make for great meetings. I was involved in some other events for NARS, Shiseido brands, the New York Times Dealbook Conference, and Fashion Week with LDJ's show team. You can see some of the pictures I took. So little advice, make your own checklist. Make sure you get to everything you're asked to do and do it well, and then do a little something extra. So at LDJ, the show team produces fashion shows from concept to execution. We do castings, fittings, scenic elements, and rehearsals. And the show team usually does about 8 complete shows every season. Fashion weeks and fashion events are very intense. If you think about it, fashion designers spend so much time cultivating and creating and creating looks for months and months to show for only 8 to 15 minutes on a runway. So the pressure for these events to be flawless and convey the message that the designer is looking for is very high. I really liked working in that environment. I learned from Rachel Young, who is a senior producer at LDJ and who would eventually become my boss, that good producers can juggle so much, but still capture the attention of an entire room and give direction with grace. So it's truly an unbelievable industry. But here is the real. You don't get a lot of sleep. You're jumping between venues. At the time, it was Spring Studios, Pier 59, or other off-site locations. You're up late making model boards and printing out last-minute changes to the run of show. Or you're up early in the venue doing hair and makeup check-in. But then the show goes on, and then you're on to another one. And your hours are long, and your work is tedious. But after all is said and done, your achievement will be watching the event unfold. At the time, I reported to Danielle, who was excellent at making me feel appreciated and always gave me feedback, but that is not always the case. It's not always a pat in the back with everyone you work with. It can be very competitive, but keep your head up and power through because it definitely is worth it. So that was my internship experience. I loved LDJ. I really wanted to work there after I graduated. So I made sure to say my thank yous and express how much I wanted to be a part of their team. A little tip, everyone you meet is a potential connection. So if you want to make a lasting impression, just send a simple thank you note. So I went back to school senior year and I helped with some LDJ events during spring and fall semester breaks. Okay, so speaking of breaks, we're going to take a quick game break. I really like to play games. So I'm going to ask you a question, and if you get it correct, you'll get into a raffle to get a prize. There might be some SWSB swag, and don't get too excited about the other part because it's just a Starbucks gift card. But if you went through your flex like I did freshman year, this is a big deal. And everyone else, it is pumpkin spice season. Okay. So I'm going to change slides in a second and you will see the question. There will be a phone number to text your answers to. So get your phones ready. And then I'm going to ask you to please text your name, your class year, or connection to Susquehanna and your answer. Okay. So I mentioned how important paying attention to detail was in event production. A few slides back, I showed you a photo of the New York Times Dealbook event. How many chairs were on the stage? You can go ahead and text in. Wrong answers are fine. My roommate Maggie is going to draw randomly from those who get the answer correct, and we will share the winner at the end. And yes, Dean Rosu is showing the swag. There it is, Susquehanna U. Okay, so the number is on the screen. You can text Sarah Derrick 889 to 22333. Once you join, you'll get a message, okay, you're involved in the game. You can text your response. And don't forget to include your name, your class year or connection to Susquehanna, and your answer. Are they coming in? Okay, they're coming in. I'll leave this up on the screen for a little bit and I'll move on to sharing about post-grad. So I graduated. LDJ hired me as an assistant to a senior producer, Rachel Young, and they also asked me to help out the finance department a little bit. Not my favorite, but when you're new, say yes. Even if you don't feel confident, it's good to be a team player. You can always learn. I did feel really good about supporting the finance department because of my classes at Susquehanna. I promise they did not tell me to say that, but I did appreciate the well-rounded education that they gave me. And I could say that I knew about accounts payable and receivable. So thank you, Dr. Uslansky. Okay, word of advice, soak it in, pay attention in class. You never know where you'll land out in the real world. Okay, I hope everyone's answers are in because I'm going to change slides. Okay. So as time went on, I started getting involved with some of our bigger clients like Discovery, Chanel, Kleinfeld Bridal, WWD, Kerastase, and I did show team for a few seasons. But every brand you work with is different. I find that working with such successful clients, there's always a level of perfection. And we work with teams that are so passionate and have really high expectations of us. The stage furniture to the signage, product displays to the show content. In luxury beauty, every minute detail needs attention. So during the time, because my boss Rachel was a big part of our foundation, I became involved with the Paper Fig Foundation. So the Paper Fig Foundation is the charitable initiative of LDJ Production. Its mission is to use fashion and the fine arts as an engine for economic empowerment and job creation in Africa and beyond. There are two different platforms, the city program and the rural program, and then there's also a fellowship program that brings individuals to New York during New York Fashion Week to work alongside professionals and experts within the industry. So Rachel asked if I'd go to Uganda to help with Kampala Fashion Week, and I was shocked. I was new, but I said yes, packed my bags, got a visa, and off we went. I met the most beautiful, creative people over there, and we helped with castings, fittings, we did a photo shoot, everything we do for Fashion Week, but in a brand new setting. And the show was at the Kampala train station. I managed backstage along with their team, and Rachel called the show. I love talking to the girls on the Kampala Fashion Week team. One of my favorite moments was working on the run of show together in the train station. A run of show is a master list that details every single look that's featured in a given runway show, all in order. And we were working in the backstage area, so we were focusing on the quick changes that were going to happen. We were able to learn about each other aside from just the work that we were doing. Gloria Wavamuno is the director behind Kampala Fashion Week. And they're a woman running a fashion event and her own business, handling sponsors and finances. It's definitely not the norm. So her passion and resilience is truly, truly amazing to me. We were supposed to help their team with best practices, and I honestly think I learned more from listening to them. And when I think about luxury from that perspective, it makes me appreciate the opportunity and the resources that we have in America and see the beauty and the drive and the creative minds from other places. So that was it. My heart was in it. I was invested. We went back to New York and then went to Nigeria for Lagos Fashion Week the same month. And we did it all over again, but this time with 30 designers and 2,000 looks. So that was within 3 months of working full time. I went to Africa twice. I can actually move back a little bit and I'll show you what it looks like, our two different positions. So I'm normally standing here. This is me in the right-hand photo, not ready for the picture, but you get the idea. And models are lined up to my left. I'm holding the run of show in my hand and I'm on radio, and Rachel's the producer. She's out in control. So she sees the runway from where she is. And she'll radio to me, okay, model go, model go. I'll send the models. I'll know which model's in front of me. I'll give them simple instruction, whatever she's saying to me in the radio, and I'll send them out. So that just gives you a little bit of background info. But that was a lot of traveling for me in the first couple weeks or a couple months that I was working. So that was a lot of miles. I'm going to move back because we are going to have another game break. So this is game break number 2. And it's going to run the same way that game number 1 worked. Are you ready, Maggie? Okay, and remember, you're playing for a Starbucks gift card and a, ooh, amazing Susquehanna garb. That looks good, Dean Ruzu.
It's very fancy. I think it's called a quarter zip. That's what I've been informed. I don't.
You are right. All right, I'm going to pull up the second question. The question is, what is the master list that details every single look featured in a given runway show? All in order. What is it called? So you can go ahead and text in again. Maggie, did you set the second game? She's on it. Maggie Cran is on it. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple minutes to answer that. Figure out who is paying attention in GBP today. Okay. I think we are almost ready to move on. I'll give you a couple last moments before I start talking about something else. Look good? Okay. Okay, so LDJ is also the in-house production company of IMG's New York Fashion Week. We had a team doing the day-to-day operations in the Spring Studios venue, and we were lucky to hire 7 SU students as PAs last September to help out. That season, my company needed someone to lead security, and they asked me to do it. And at first, I was nervous. I was like, me? Security? Whoa. And then I learned what it was. I would be working with PR teams, celebrities and VIPs. I'd be helping explain a brand new credential system, guest flow, VIP scheduling, and guard placement. I had a lot of responsibility really fast, but always a great support system at LDJ cheering me on. This was the first time I really learned to use my voice. I learned it's not always about what you say, it's about how you say it. And working in these luxury environments, you have to portray being calm, cool, and collected, even when the crazy is the craziest. It's your job to have it all together, to have the answers, and to think quickly for solutions. With security, I felt like I was under a microscope sometimes. You have exclusive designers who want their guests to have a flawless experience. You're doing what you can to make sure your bases are covered. And my day-to-day was waking up at 4:30, turning on my radio, meeting with the security guards, briefing them on the day's important things, handing out a new printout of the credentials. They change daily, sometimes halfway through the day. There are 30 different passes with different levels of access and wristband combinations. I'm not kidding. And I would meet with the credential manager and make sure our numbers aligned. I'd check in backstage check-in, make sure guest check-in was set up. I'd chat with the IMG PR team about their daily events, check in my security assistants, coordinate via email and text with PR companies for VIP drop-offs, and radio with the venue managers to find out where they were with hair and makeup and can they give me the heads up to start letting the guard start letting the guests into the elevators. So the show would go on. We would get those guests out of the building smoothly and go on to the next show. And in between there would be some crazy crashers to deal with, or I would pet the little police dog. That's Comet in the lower right photo. Okay, so Fashion Week is really intense. Personalities run high. I think I was a little bit underestimated in the beginning. I don't seem like the type to take on security, but I said yes because I knew it would be an opportunity to grow. And the most important thing is to be confident, even if sometimes you have to fake it until you make it. You can't seem unsure or nervous or emotional. I am, because that gives people a reason to doubt you. And that's something I definitely worked on, and I think I got better at it. But just always be kind, even to the human dressed as the Dora Explorer, who's trying to body surf over your security guards at the main entrance. Always be kind. Okay, so aside from fashion and beauty, I've also worked a little bit in automotive. The guys who are watching are like, finally, something cool. LDJ has worked with Rolls-Royce for a while. I was new to the automotive side in January when we did an event for Jaguar Land Rover. It was a huge sales meeting at La Quinta Resort in Palm Springs, California, and I was the production coordinator on the event. It was about 6 months in the planning, and my role was in guest management, furniture, decor, and gifting, my favorites, as well as supporting the producers on the event. We had 2 nights of events, one night for the new Defender launch, and then another night for Jaguar. And we had a sponsor lounge and programming during the day. We were out in the middle of Palm Desert on a golf course in the mountains. It was really something. My favorite task was doing the furniture for the Defender night because I created different lounge areas inside cabanas that reflected each Defender pack. And the packs were Discovery, Urban, Adventure, and Explorer. Each had a little bit of a different look and feel. I'll show you now. So every luxury brand has a different aesthetic, and that's a look and an appearance that helps establish a mood, tone, or style. And it's important to first recognize that and then be able to replicate it or create an environment that brings out the same emotion. So the first thing that I did was look at campaigns, their past events, their brand guidelines, and of course, what each pack entailed. And from there, I picked furniture from 4 different companies, got it approved, and then coordinated the deliveries. So these are photos that came right from the deck that we sent over to the client to get furniture approved. And I included the triptychs for each pack, and then you can kind of see how it goes along with the furniture. Exciting. Okay, so we had to keep in mind for this event that we were on a golf course in the middle of dirt. So we had to bring everything in, like fire pits, bars, heating lamps, tents, signage, and it had to be enough seating for 700 people. And then on top of that was the show element, which involved an introduction from their executives, and then the cars drove in from over the hills in the distance. Our lighting team had to light the mountains behind them. It was an incredible challenge, and we were on a flat course, so for me, the furniture clusters needed to be leveled and arranged so everybody could see the show. Guest experience. But my favorite thing about this event was that, well, my real favorite thing about this event was that we each had golf carts to ride around in to get across the resort. But I like that there were a lot of moving parts and a lot of different elements to each event inside the big event. Okay. So you're probably wondering what we're doing now with COVID-19. How can LDJ Productions make luxury virtual? And I'm going to mention that LDJ has a fully integrated web-based live streaming platform called LDJ Plus, where we're able to engage an audience without getting together. We have studios in New York and Los Angeles, or we can send video kits out and record right from people's homes. We can do virtual rooms, conferences, stream video. My family thought it was cool because when we were quarantining at home, they loved hearing Hugh Jackman's voice in the dining room and peeking over at Liam Hemsworth on Zoom. Exciting. So I should mention that we deal with a lot of celebrities all the time, and we have to be professional both in person and virtually. Celebrities are people too. So most of the times I just fangirl on the inside. But everyone is looking for alternatives right now because we can't bring people together in person. A lot of companies have found clever ways to keep people engaged, track and gather data, and some are finding that they actually were able to increase engagements and attendance through social media sharing, and they don't have a venue capacity limit, which is great. We've also seen some companies who are trying to enhance their virtual events by arranging dinners, sending bottles of wine, products to VIPs. Actually, just the other day, for one of our smaller early morning virtual galas, my coworker suggested sending out muffins from this amazing bakery to their big donors and tables, and they loved the idea. I mean, send me a muffin, I'll do whatever you want. Just kidding. Okay, so since working at LDJ, I have discovered that the people that I work with are very driven to stay ahead of the curve. They think creatively and pivot when necessary. And pivot is actually one of our CEO's favorite words. So a word of advice: in any event, expect the unexpected. Things go wrong. Even if you are the most organized or the best planner, there will always be things that you can't control. But it's all about how you handle it and recover. So, well, remember that event that I talked about for Jaguar Land Rover? What you didn't see is that we couldn't control the weather one night, and there was an extreme windstorm after the event was over. I mean, cushions were flying through the air and heat lamps were blazing. But we moved the after party to a new location and hardly anyone noticed. So I hope you enjoyed my presentation. I am going to announce the winners now. And then I think we have time for a question and answer, right, Dean Rizzo?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Maggie. Okay. So the first winner is Mackenzie Ackroyd, class of 2023, who guessed correctly because there were actually 2 chairs. Let me share my screen. In the New York Times deal book photo. Right here. So congratulations, Mackenzie. Stay on later and we'll be able to get your contact information so we can send you your prize. And then our second winner, congratulations to Erin Rowe, class of 2024, who guessed that the run of show, which is correct, is the master list that details every single look featured in a runway show. So thank you very much for participating. If you didn't win, still great job. I hope you learned something. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. That was amazing. As great as it is to have everybody, this is the point that we're always a little disappointed because you'd be getting a very big round of applause from everybody for that talk. But you'll just have to imagine everybody's doing that behind their computer right now. Really hits home, especially so for our first year students and our prospective students watching. To me, it's just absolutely amazing. Like, you went on the Go trip, which all students have to do, and now we are the only business school in the world that can guarantee students an internship in a foreign country. And within 6 months, you mentioned Uganda and Nigeria. I don't know what other countries you didn't mention that you may have gone to, but I think that's absolutely incredible that you were able to kind of parlay your experiences into that right away.
Thank you. I do really enjoy traveling, and I hope that when COVID-19 is over, that we're, as a company, that we're able to travel more, and also that the students at Susquehanna get that opportunity. when I was a junior, I went to Austria, and I loved my experience. I really, that kind of gave me the travel bug a little bit. So I knew I wanted to incorporate that in whatever career path I chose. So
Really
enjoy
great.
that opportunity, students.
I think that relates to you, to the first question here from Mario Colon, who asks, is this your dream job / where you thought you would be? If so, what advice would you give for students about landing the dream job, even if you didn't think it was at first? Also, super cool job. So
That's a really good question. I was really indecisive when all throughout college, but I knew that I liked bringing people together, and I found a lot of excitement when everyone came together for big events. So I didn't really think about luxury event planning until my aunt actually brought it up to me and thought it would be something exciting to look into, because I was trying to combine a lot of my interests. And I ended up learning more about LDJ Productions. But when I applied and got the job, I had no idea that it was what it was, or that I'd get the experience to travel and work with such prestigious luxury brands. But now that I'm there, I will say it definitely covers my dream job bases. We'll see what happens in the future, but I'm always doing something different, which that's a dream job for me. So
that's great. Kind of on the other end, this one was entered in the Q&A feature. I will mention again, the question and answer feature is open for anybody who'd like to ask. This one was anonymous, but it does ask, how do you balance work with family and friends?
That is a really great question. With working in event planning, you do travel a lot, and you do work a lot of weekends and late nights, depending on when your events are. I guess that I'm young, so I kind of travel, find room for everything, and my coworkers are so great, and we're always on the same page, and we get along so well. So that's fun in itself. But I think the key to finding a work-life balance is to be a good planner, not just an event planner, but really making time for family and friends. And I think quarantine, we were almost lucky because we got to spend time, some of us, with family and friends at home that we wouldn't have gotten if we were out and doing our business.
Oh, sure. Aaron Holly asks, what do you wish for your next endeavor in luxury and events? Or maybe I could ask, what's the next big project that you're allowed to tell us about? I imagine there's some things you're probably not allowed to tell us about.
Some things. Great question, Aaron Holly. We went to high school together, actually. She's my sister's year. What I'm working on now, actually, I can tell you a little bit, is an event with Alicia Keys. She just announced a collaboration with Elf Cosmetics, her new silk care line. So we're working on that. Some of my company is going to be traveling in the next couple weeks. We're doing some filming with her and her team. So that's really exciting. And that's the dream right now. I don't know if I'm traveling yet, but we will see. Hopefully I'll get to see Alicia in person. Who knows? But for now, I'm just working on the behind the scenes work, and we're researching some venues to shoot from and sending out some suggestions of celebrities to include. So that's what we're working on.
Good. Related to, I guess, Alicia Keys, another one that's anonymously entered, but who's the most famous person you've met?
The most famous person? That's a good question. I don't know who the most famous is, but I will say who some of the nicest people that I've met. Actually, we'll start. You're gonna love this one. Cardi B. So nice. I helped her down a flight of stairs once. We had the best conversation, and she seems very down to earth to me. I've also met Mark Cuban, Paris Hilton, Adriana Lima, and Billy Porter, all of which were so nice and so down to earth. And sometimes I manage backstage in my job. So you have some downtime. And when you're working with celebrities, you kind of have to almost pretend that they're not and pretend that they're a long lost friend. Well, that's at least what I try to do. And you talk casually, give them the information that you need to, send them on their way, and then freak out on the inside. But those are some of the nicest.
That's really cool. As a Broadway fan, hearing Billy Porter being one of the nicest makes me happy. So, another question comes in. Do you know if luxury brands are working on like a luxury? Why don't we think? I'm gonna take some creative license with the question. The luxury brand major can be incorporated with public relations in any way, or working with luxury brands and public relations.
Oh yeah, I had the opportunity to work with a lot of PR companies during New York Fashion Week, and they have a cool job. They set up a lot of celebrity interactions. I think that a lot of PR companies right now, anyone who works with luxury brands on any kind of event is definitely a way to incorporate the luxury brand major. There's definitely a certain level of professionalism that comes with working in PR. Same thing, you handle celebrities, they handle the lists for big, huge fashion shows, and they're the ones running around on the floor, making sure all of their VIPs get upstairs, and they're making sure that so-and-so is in the front row but can't be next to this person, and this person's running late, so we have to, it's exciting, but definitely can be luxury brand majors. I definitely can see having a future in PR.
Great. Question here is alludes to kind of, you mentioned the connections on the first job. The person asking the question wants to know what kind of networking did you do to kind of get started on the whole job process or internship process?
So when I was throughout the 4 years that I was at Susquehanna, I really loved being involved in the Women's Leadership Symposium. And being that I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do, I kept the business cards and the contact information of some of the women that were at the events and that I had a connection with. So sometimes I would check in here and there, see what they were up to, let them know what my interests were, just to send a simple email or a simple thank you note here and there. And I definitely did, I did research on LinkedIn, and I would see which alumni are at Susquehanna can I reach out to about X, Y, and Z. I was interested in marketing for a while, so I reached out to some marketing alumni. But I'll say that any interaction that you have with an alumni, you'll always learn something. So it could amount to something huge, or you could take it as a learning experience. So definitely, students, reach out, start early, make those connections. You never know where they could lead.
Yeah, I would second that. The Women's Leadership Symposium, it did start as a Sigmund Weis School of Business initiative, and we've kept that going, but thanks actually to generous support from a number of alums, but some very large gifts from, I know, trustees Mary Ciani, Signe Gates, and Don Mueller. It's actually campus-wide now. So it's not just the business school, it's open for women of all majors at Susquehanna. So that's really fantastic news, and certainly would encourage you to take advantage of that, or like any networking trip. I think that's really good advice of meeting people and then following up after to stay in touch. Highly recommend that for our students. Jay Snyder says, no question, Sarah, just congrats on an excellent presentation. Jay apparently went to school with your uncle. And then there's a lot more there that I'm not going to read because we do have a lot of other questions. How do you adapt creatively to quick changes, such as the change of venue due to the sandstorm? When that type of thing happens, does the event uphold the same innovation as the original, or does it change completely?
That's a great question. Communication is always really important on any team, but especially on my team in event planning. And during an event, everyone is always on radio. So you're on a channel and you kind of have eyes and ears in every location about everything that's going on, even if you're just in one place at a time. So that's really great for us to know and a really great system for us to use to communicate. But I'm constantly thinking as I go, okay, if this goes wrong, we're going to pivot and do this. If this happens, we're going to do this. You can't always plan like that. I've been in some situations that just the unexpected happens and I have to come up with some solutions really fast. It's worked out so far, but I could tell you one story that I really needed to pivot and find a solution for. We were doing an event at Rockefeller Center. It was a fashion show, and I was in charge of ordering the scenic elements. And the basement of Rockefeller Center is where all your deliveries come in, and there's huge freight elevators that you load things in, and it has to go all the way up to the, I think, 67th floor is where the event was. And I had ordered these giant mirrors for a client. The models were going to walk from behind the mirrors, and it ended up that the mirrors that I had ordered, even though they were shorter than the inside of the elevators, didn't fit in the elevator doors the day before the show. And I quickly had to think of solutions. I called my mom, of course. I was having a breakdown, like, they're going to fire me. She's like, it's fine. You're not saving lives. Not really. They're very supportive. I came up with 3 solutions. I could hire a glass cutter. I could bring someone in to take out the roof of the elevator and stick the mirrors on top and send them up, or I could call and beg the company to overnight us new custom ones. Option 3 sounded like the most feasible option. That's what they did. They ended up being delivered the next day. So just always coming up with solutions on the fly and being a good communicator is 100% the way to go.
That's pretty great. That's a crazy story. I was going to ask, what's the most challenging part of your job? I don't know. Maybe it's that, but maybe there's something else. So somebody did ask, what's the most challenging part of your job?
I think that the most challenging part for me when I was first starting and still was the commuting. And once I got over the commuting part, I think the most challenging thing for me, and still sometimes, is finding my voice in the office. Because when you're new, and when I was hired as an assistant, I took the back seat for a while. And what was challenging for me was being able to finally start putting in my opinion and feeling like around all these creative geniuses that I could come up with something valuable. So I think gaining that confidence was a challenge for me in the beginning, and I'm still working on it. I think that's the greatest one.
No, that's a really good answer. I don't know that there's some things I don't know that there are easy solutions for, right? I mean, that's a really good answer. A question here. I got a question I don't think you can really answer because you want to keep your job, but somebody does ask, what was the least favorite job you've done in the industry and why? I'm going to go ahead and say you probably can't give specifics on that because you'd want to keep your job, but I don't know if there is anything you can add.
I can add, so my least favorite job, not to discourage any interns, but props to interns because they really do grunt work sometimes. And there was one particular instance that I was new, I was learning, and I was working with a photographer once that was so bossy and so just made me feel so bad and just hurt that I wasn't doing, that I didn't know things already. And that really discouraged me. But actually, we're really good friends now, the photographer and I always make fun of him about those days. I was like, do you remember when you treated me horribly when I was going to get your coffee and this and that? But I think you grow past it, and I'll say that you should always be vocal about the way that you feel. And it's always good to have somebody to go to in your office who, if you're ever uncomfortable or if there's ever a situation where you need a little bit of extra support, it's always good to have that ally of a person who could make you feel better and reassure you. So
yeah, absolutely. It seems like you get to work with a wide variety of products and people and events. One person does ask, if you could choose any luxury brand to work for, what brand would you choose? Or is that another one that's too
So
you shouldn't answer?
secretly, I can answer this because, oh well, when we were freshmen and we did Burberry as our GBP company, I really loved it. I felt like we learned so much. I felt like we were a part of their company without really being. And after learning all of that, I sometimes check on jobs, refresh, see what they have going on every now and then. Because I think that would be fun, working for a company like that you kind of have a little bit of a connection to. And I'm going to say Burberry, the freshman GBP company.
That's cool. I'm curious if 6 years we were talking, it's been 6 years since you were in there. Curious if 6 years from now, any students, current students now will be saying that Lowe's Home Improvement has the same. Great. It is a great company, but maybe our luxury brand, luxury brand major could take it to the next level. So
Never know.
We've got about 9 minutes left. So I usually like to end at an hour. We've got a question. How has having to become a problem solver made you grow as a person? And what's it like working with people when there's often an abundance of pressure in the job?
Scary. No. I know I'm forgetting the question. What's it like working with pressure? And what was the beginning?
The first part, sorry, I clicked the answer button. How has becoming a problem solver helped you grow as a person?
Becoming a problem solver is definitely good in everyday life. I have two sisters, so I learned to be a problem solver when we were very little. But I think that being able to adapt in the workplace and going in knowing that different producers work differently, and you kind of have to, first I like to observe what the dynamic is to get everything that I'm done, and then you kind of have to morph yourself into the position on the team that best suits that producer. So I think being a problem solver is the part having a level head and using your good judgment, but also part being able to kind of look at a dynamic and then react accordingly. I hope that answered your question. I was all over the place.
That's great. The question was entered by somebody anonymously, but I'm wondering if they know you. They're asking if little bites count as muffins. I don't know if that's an inside joke or somebody's just having fun. But
not an inside joke, but blueberry. If they're blueberry, then yes, not the chocolate. Okay.
There we go. I think this next question is actually a really interesting question. Do people tend to judge or make assumptions because you work with prestigious brands?
Sometimes. I think it's very interesting because we also we don't always work with luxury brands all the time. So to most clients, we're the production company. Like that's our specialty, and we're there to give them our feedback and what we think would be the best route to go on an event. But at the end of the day, they're the luxury brand and they're the client. So bringing to life what their ideas are, I think, is important. So I don't know if people judge. Sometimes.
So you don't need to have time for people who judge like that. Want to thank everybody who submitted questions. I think at this point it's a good wrapping. There was one more, but I kind of think we hit it in an earlier question. And we're getting close to the time. So I think this would be a good time, once again, where there's the virtual round of applause from behind the cameras for everybody thanking you. But thanks so much for taking time to talk to students at your alma mater. For our prospective students, it was 6 years ago, or for our current students, for our GBP students, it was 6 years ago where she was sitting on a Monday night. In her case, it was in Thaler Hall in Fisher, and this is what she's doing. So in terms of kind of going after what you want and like the amazing opportunities, it's I think heed the wisdom that was shared tonight, because there's the world's open to you. Sarah, any closing words for our guests this evening?
I do have some closing words. Thank you. Really quick, I actually want to give a special shout out to Professor Harry Strine. He was my public speaking professor at SU, and I did a project in his class, and he encouraged me to do a few public speaking competitions. And without him, I think this presentation would have been a lot less captivating. So thank you so much, Dr. Strine. And also thank you so much for everyone taking the time, especially on a Monday night, to you football fans. Students, I wish you the most fantastic year. Make the most of it, stay safe. And of course, thank you to Dean Rosu, the Sigmund Weis School of Business, and the Alumni Office for thinking of me.
Well, thank you. A reminder, Thursday night, Brett Moyer talking about something that I think seems to fit well from this, tips for landing a dream job. Hope to see many of you there. Until then, I hope you have a Monday night. And for the football fans, enjoy the Ravens and Chiefs. So it should be a good game. So take care, everybody.